What's up, folks? Today we've got a bit of MacBook Madness. And yes, I'm kind of getting back into the swing of making videos again because, I've got nothing to do right now. Anyway, let's get right into it. This is a 13-inch MacBook Pro, late 2011. It's missing its feet because those actually went onto the Arendelle MacBook Pro that I have sitting here that we're also going to look at it. My bad. Anyway, this is the 13-inch that I originally had gotten in trade for my Dell Precision M4700. The problem with this, well, at first I figured it had an issue that I could easily fix, and it turns out that it was a lot more complicated than that. So, I'm going to go ahead and get my cloth. I know it's a bit dirty, but it'll do for what we're trying to do here. I'm going to go ahead and get... Actually, I should probably put this back here. Just a little bit of a zoomed picture here. I'm going to go ahead and tear right into this thing. Well, I'm not going to do a proper tear down. This is just going to be me kind of going over it. I'm going to go ahead and, while I'm taking the series out, I'm going to give you the story behind this thing. So, I went to San Francisco in March, and I couldn't bring the Precision M4700 with me. And there were a couple things I needed to do that kind of really required a computer, like my iPhone was being a piece of junk. So, the decision was made that I was just going to get rid of the Precision, and I wanted to just get a smaller machine like this to use for my uses. So I looked around on Craigslist and I found this machine, and it seemed to be a good enough price. The guy wanted $400 for it. I made a deal, and there's an ant on my MacBook. I made a deal and said, yo, would you want to trade my Precision for it? So he accepted. I went out and I traded him. Seemed a little sketchy, but hey, it was a MacBook. The only problem was that it ran unusably slow. Thought it was a software issue because it was running what looked like a really screwed up build of Yosemite. So I formatted and reinstalled El Capitan, and that fixed absolutely nothing. So I thought it was a software issue. I looked around and I found that it potentially was. Did a software fix that made it usably slow. It was still far slower than it should have been on battery, and Geekbench was still only pulling like about a 700 on this machine. So let's talk about what the problem is. Now, you can kind of see right here, there's some gunk on here. And that is because what ended up happening to this machine was somebody spilled something in right here, and it came in and it accumulated in the bottom pan, and it hit all the voltage regulation components right here. Notably, the power management IC, which is right here, was corroded all to hell and back. Now, I know some people like Louis Rossman have a very adamant opinion that giving it an alcohol bath and scrubbing it with a soft toothbrush will do nothing, but I figured at this point I might as well at least give it a shot. So I did. I scrubbed everything off, and as you can see, it cleaned up pretty damn well. Unfortunately, it was too far gone for the power management IC, because even though I cleaned it up and it seemed to be, a little bit better, because the power management IC was screwed, basically this thing was stuck at 800 megahertz while on battery. If I ran it off the mains, it would, I think it would lock at like 2.7 gigahertz. But I mean, that's better than nothing, right? So it did ran mighty hot because of that. And, I mean, all this was like crapped up with gunk, and it looked horrible. So, I ended up removing the motherboard, which I'm not going to do because it's a royal pain. And you take out all these T6 screws, and Apple likes to kind of mess with you a little bit because they put a Phillips here. Because there is a cable guide here for the LVDS connector. that you need to remove, and then the MagSafe board. But the cable guide holds the microphone, which is bound to the board. I don't see an easy way to remove it. So you do need to pull that off to get to that. So beware. But you can still see some remnants of the gunk along this little ribbon cable here and kind of on the airport card. But that's pretty much what plagued this machine. And a deal was cut between a friend of mine and, well, my girlfriend's friend of mine and such, that I would buy her early 2011 MacBook Pro, and pretty much it would replace this machine. So, with that said, let's go ahead and put the cover back on. So what ended up happening was DOSDude1 here on YouTube, and I got to talking, and I said, yo, I've got this machine. It's kind of busted. Do you have any, like, for the most part, it's cosmetically perfect. And you could probably get parts out of it. Do you have anything you would trade to me? So for this and another undisclosed item, because I don't want to kill his thunder, he went on eBay and found me an Arendelle MacBook Pro. Now, he was of the opinion that I could, trade him for his 15-inch 2011 MacBook Pro. The problem is that thing was quite around the ringer, and knowing my luck, the GPU is going to die. And while Apple does have a repair program, unfortunately, due to a failed repair, the SATA connector on that logic board is completely and totally toast. So he said he was going to sell one of his computers and he would find me an Arendelle MacBook Pro, which is, the 15-inch mid-2010. So I believe the 13-inch has never got an Arendelle chip. They went directly from Core to Penryn up to Sandy Bridge, which was the early 2011. So they never got to see the glory that was Arendelle. And Arendelle, from what I'm hearing, was not a good chip outside of the Mac. It just really wasn't. It never came in a quad-core variant on the MacBook Pros. So, unlike from 2011 onwards, where you got the i7 and the 15-inch MacBook Pro, they came quad standard. No, dual core is all you get on the 15-inch whatsoever. So, as you can see, the feet on this one are gone, and there is a good reason for that, because here is the lovely Arendelle MacBook Pro. Go ahead and zoom you guys out a little bit. Now, this machine has its own little problems. I'm going to go ahead, and it looks like it's started up, so I'm going to have to shut it down. But as you can see, like I said, this thing has a high-resolution panel. Seems to be acting really weird, but there was a reason for that. I did forget to also say with the 13-inch, cosmetically, it actually is not in perfect condition, because I actually opened it up on site, and you'll notice there's actually a key missing here. It's actually right here, because the keyboard, this side was like warped really bad, and as you can see here, these keys are all warped, but they still do function just fine. The guy said his daughter left a curling iron on it, so whatever, I believed it. Now, the Arendelle isn't wanting to wake up. It's kind of being a pain. So I'm just going to go ahead and force shut it down. And yep, that did it. Now, we'll see why this thing's having issues in a minute. Now, I'm going to go ahead and flip it over. Now, this machine, DOSDude1 got off eBay. I don't know how much he paid for it. I was just of the opinion, if you find me a good 15-inch MacBook Pro, I will gladly make the trade. So that is what ended up happening. Because in using a 13-inch MacBook Pro during this time, I figured, you know, it's a bit on the small side, and 1280 by 800 is a bit of a restrictive resolution. When I actually had my 13-inch Retina, I ran that in 1680 by 1050. I probably got that wrong. Mode all the time, even though it caused a massive performance loss due to the nature of the screen scaler. So, just the resolution on the 13-inch is so horrible, and I can't stand it, and I don't like it. But at this point, I just really wanted to be away from Windows. Windows 10 to me, it's kind of everything wrong with Microsoft. I don't mind the core OS. I know a lot of people are going to give me shit for saying something bad about Windows 10. But it's basically what Apple would, like, if Apple applied iPhone methodologies to the desktop market. They take away your control. They spy on you. I know Apple doesn't really spy on you, but they spy on you and there's no way to really opt out of it. So I just wanted to be out of Windows. And the Precision M4700, while it was a powerhouse of a machine, it never really felt like it performed as well as it should, even under Windows 10. So, without further ado, let's get into this. As you can see here, and this thing does have some catches that have to pop. I did glue in new feet because Apple does sell a foot kit for these machines, but I don't feel like paying $1 million for them. I mean, you can buy them elsewhere for like $5, but I figured I already have a good set of feet on the 2011, and DOS Dude 1 did not care if I took those feet for myself, so I figured why not. So this is the SSD that I actually got with the MacBook that I bought off my friend, or am buying. I'm actually making payments on it. It's a 480 gig Ultra 2 SanDisk. I mean, it doesn't light the world on fire in performance. However, it runs well enough for what I need to do with this machine. Very similar design here. Got the airport card, or the wireless card, sitting right over here. Dual fans. One of these apparently has a bit of an issue where it rumbles a little bit, but I have yet to actually see it. My guess is that while this thing was in transit to me from DOS Dude 1, it just knocked whatever was in the fan out of it, so I'm not gonna care about that. 8 gigs of RAM and the battery. The battery is kind of where things kind of get weird. Now, I don't know if you'll be able to see this very well on video. Try to zoom you guys in a little bit so you can see. But battery has a bit of a bulge in it. It's not bad. It's not truly bad yet. It might even be just warped plastic for all I know. But with these things, you can never be too certain. I'm actually going to take a look at it myself. And I mean, yeah, it's bowed out just ever so slightly. And I know a lot of people are going to tell me, well, you need to get that battery out. You need to get that battery out. The problem is, I kind of depend on my laptop right now. So I can't really do anything about the battery. If I take it out, we have what happened with the 2011, which, not due to a corroded power management IC, but due to the way the machine has to handle its load. The machine basically, and like I said, I can feel it, like there's a lot of give to it. So, I mean, I don't know if it's the cell pushing up against the battery casing, or if it's just the casing is bent a little bit. I don't know. But basically, I can't go without this machine right now. I'm at home, but I may also, you know, go out at any moment in time. And given that I'm dealing with a lot of legal crap right now, I need this machine to be functional. So, the battery is toast. I mean, I'd rather be safe than sorry on this. Because I tried running it down because coconut battery's been kind of here and there with it. Coconut battery says it has about 75 to 80% of its original capacity left over. It's got about 520 cycles on, which is far less than the 1,000 that Apple has rated this thing for. And I tried running it all the way down to kind of see if the battery gauge has kind of fallen out of sync, something went wrong. And sure enough, it shut down at about 50 to 30%, and it won't come back to life. So I did charge it right back up again, keeping a close eye on it, and we do have almost fully charged. So pretty much what I'm going to do is I'm just going to leave it in here for right now. I want to get another battery, but it ain't in the budget right now. I don't have the money to get one. They cost at least $100. There are dodgy eBay ones, but I don't... Those are probably going to explode worse than this one is. But basically what I'm going to do is I'm just going to leave it in here and keep a close eye on its condition, so to speak. I'm going to pop off the bottom pan here and there, just make sure that the battery isn't noticeably swelling anymore. If it gets any bigger than it is right now, I'm just going to go ahead and take it out and shelve the machine until I can get a battery. But I don't know, part of me thinks, given that there is some give here, that it's just the casing that is warped a little bit. And it wouldn't surprise me, seeing as this thing is actually bent a little bit because of abuse by its previous owner. So for right now, it's going to stay right exactly where it's at. So I'm going to go ahead and put this back on. Of course I'm going to buy a new battery when I can. No question there. And, oops, we don't want to lose that. I'm also keeping eyes on this down here. If this starts kind of coming away from the case, I know something's not right. But with this battery, I don't know, it's just really far less. I mean, it still looks good in coconut battery. It just is exhibiting the same problems that the battery in my late 08 or my early 08 did. My late 08 actually had a problem with the battery too, but that never got destructive at any point. It just basically threw one of its batteries, and Apple refused to cover it, even though I had full Apple Care on that machine. And I know some have said, like on Reddit and such like that, that, you know, Apple will replace a bulging battery for free, especially if it falls very much outside of spec like this one does. I'll show you in a minute. This battery only has, like, I think I already said, but I'll say it again. This battery only has like 520 cycles on it, and it has roughly 70 to 80% of its capacity remaining. Apple has been known to replace batteries like this, but lately I have not been feeling the luck with Apple. Like the very reason I got this guy here is because Apple actually refused to replace my iPhone multiple times, even though I've demonstrated that it is very defective. But they refuse to have anything to do with it, because that's the way I guess they roll. They claimed it was software. I was like, no, this has affected me since 9.2. They refused to have any of it, and it told me to get lost. And they also told me to get lost when I had a 6 Plus with the camera issue. They told me that they weren't going to replace it because I could still whack the phone and it would start focusing again. It's like, this is not what I would expect from Apple. But they've kind of gone downhill in customer service over the years, I feel. So I'm going to go ahead and just seal this thing back up. Go ahead. Bring this out of frame. Should get a bong. Oh. Huh, it's doing a resume. Huh. Your computer restarted because of a problem. Just go ahead. Start. Because I had to force shut it down because I guess it went into sleep of death mode, which, you know, the battery. Yeah, the battery in this thing is definitely boned in some special way. Let me go ahead and enter my credentials here. It is showing 81% right now. I did not, well, I guess I did shut down my computer because of a problem. Ignore. Go away Steam. Let's pull up coconut battery. Go ahead and log 1. And you can kind of see where this machine, if I can zoom back in, is kind of fallen off the plot here. We started with 78, went up to 79, came down to 73, 74, now we're back down to 72. We pull up this Mac. You can see right there, this battery. Yeah. Pull up battery details, battery status is good, it looks like. But yeah, this machine is just kind of dead. Yeah. That's pretty much it for this little machine. There's not really much I can do at this point. It's kind of boned. I don't have enough money for another battery. But that's pretty much it. Not really much I can do at this point. Anyway, until next time, that was MacBook Madness, and I will see you later.